Hello and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. For today's preview, it is Bulls versus Sharks tomorrow night in probably the key clash this weekend within the Currie Cup. It's 1 versus 2, albeit the Sharks being there through quite a few missed matches and some points being given for free, really. But it is a really good chance to see how the Sharks lineup can deal with what is an incredible Bulls outfit who have really sort of flexed their depth this weekend with the side that they have picked. A bit of an interesting selection on the bench, but some really, really good players back on the side. When you consider the players that still will come into the side, it kind of shows you just how good, the Bulls currently are in terms of their squad, in terms of the entire setup, really. Before we look at the team itself and talk about the clash, please do smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well. We might be live for this game. We're still not entirely sure what is going to be the plan for tomorrow night. We will be live for Lions versus Griquas, and we will be live for both the Bledisloe Cup as well as the British and Irish Lions versus the Springboks on Saturday evening. But in terms of the sides, we'll start with the Bulls, who are the home side despite playing in Durban. So basically the Bulls versus Sharks game was called off, and as a result, this game, as the Sharks asked if they could play the game in Durban, and the Bulls have accepted the request, and therefore the match will take place in Durban. But if we look at the front row, before we go into what's quite an interesting bench, it's a very, very strong front row. Obviously, no Johan Grobbelaar, who has been called up into the Springbok squad, and he is therefore unavailable for Jake White. But we've got Lizo Gqoboka and Morne Smith as the two props, and then you've got Skalka Rasmus, a very, very nice place to be able to bring in the number 2 jumper. But apart from that, lots of continuity in the front, in the scrum itself. While Steenkamp, Bruno Kier continue their lock combination, Marcel Katsier will continue to captain the side in the number 6 jumper. The youngster Muller 8 and Ulrich Loh continue as well as the same halfback combination in Zach Berger and Johan Goosen. Johan Goosen continues to try and sort of break down the door to get back into that box squad. Zach Berger also a very nice prospect potentially for the future. And then the rest of the backline, we've seen a couple of changes. So first of all, 2 players are back in. Stedman Gans is back from the sevens, where they unfortunately didn't get a medal there over there in Tokyo. But Madosh Tamwe is also back from injury, so a lot of pace on the wings. But interesting to see Stedman Gans on the wing and not an outside centre this weekend, who is actually Harold Forster, who shifts from inside to outside to accommodate Cornel Hendricks, who reverts back to the centres from the wing. We've mainly seen Cornel Hendricks and Stedman Gans at the centre positions during the Currie Cup and Super Rugby Unlocked last season. But this weekend we will see Harold Forster in the number 13 jersey. No place in the side for Lionel, who's been very good since he's coming back. David Creel will be the fullback as usual. Probably the most sort of consistent selection there. So week in, week out is David Creel at fullback. And then on the bench, very interesting to see Jan Hendrik Wessels being given the 16 jumper. And, it's going to be interesting the fact that he's been named as the reserve hooker. And I'm very keen to see how he goes. If that is the case. One assumes that is the case. But he's a very, very excited youngster. But a lot of people have been saying, and we saw it a little bit with the SA under-20s, that his scrummaging is a little bit substandard. So I don't know if this is just a case of because there's no Johan Grobbelaar, they're trying something, or if they are maybe genuinely trying to look at converting him into a hooker. But it's a very interesting call. I think it could be quite an interesting positional change if he does do it. The other 2 props, Simpiwe Mantanzima, very, very exciting young. Lou said, Clearly Dlamini, the giraffe was what he's called. He's just absolutely massive. He was signed from a club in Natal. And we've seen him, I think we saw him the last time we saw him for the first time was in the Western Province game in the beginning of the tournament. So very keen to see how he gets on tomorrow. Janko Swanepoel, Arno Boertse will cover the rest of the scrum. Very excited youngster Keegan Johannes will cover scrum off, and then Chris Smith and another youngster in Sibongile Novuko as well, who will cover full back and sort of the outside back position. So it's a very, very good Bull squad when you consider that when you look at the squad, they still have the likes of Dwayne Vermeulen, Johan Grobbelaar, Trevor Nyakane, Morne Steyn. There are so many players that can still come back into this Bulls side. Lionel Pood, Ruan Conbring still to come back, and Jacques Duplessis still to come into the side. There are some fantastic players at this Bulls side, and their depth is actually just unbelievable. So very interesting to sort of see a couple of positional changes, and interesting to sort of see where some players might sort of start to settle down. And something like Richard Creel doesn't even make the 23 despite being in very good form over the last 2 weeks. In terms of the Sharks side, also a couple of interesting ones, and also a very interesting bench. They actually have not named a hooker on the bench. And if you see the starting lineup, you'll understand why. So the starting front row is Ntuthuko Mkuno, Karen van Vuren, and Kuta Mkuno, which is pretty solid. Ntuthuko Mkuno, I think somebody still that needs to work on his scrummaging. It's a big sort of question mark. And nobody has any doubt of his ability in the loose. He's a very good ball carrier. He's got quite a good turn of pace, which is why he's sort of been likened to the beast and the fact that he likes carrying the ball. But he has to start proving it at scrum time. But they will have a very big boost behind them in Leroux Roots and Reniel Hugo, who add a lot of bulk and physicality to that Sharks Sharks tied 5 rather. And the loose trio of Dylan Richardson, Henko Venter, and Pepsi Buthelezi is probably about as strong as they currently get. Thembelani Boli, somebody who always kind of, I never understand what he needs to do to sort of stay in that starting line, but often quite quick to sort of drop him down to the bench. He does cover a few positions, which always helps. But Henko Venter has been a mainstay in the Sharks for a long time. Dylan Richardson now forcing himself into the number 6 jersey. Pepsi Buthelezi will captain the side. He's been immense at the back of the scrum. But what's quite interesting is Dylan Richardson is actually covering hooker, because there is no hooker on the bench. So that's what they've decided. They've gone with 2 hookers, one on the flank in the starting 15, and then if needed be, he can switch to number 2, or Kieran Van can play a full 80. In terms of your halfback combination, Grant Williams, Lionel Cronje, which will see Cohen Bosch move to fullback, which I think is an interesting choice. I think that, we've been talking about this quite a lot. My gut feels that Cohen Bosch needs to leave and go find somewhere, and he needs to settle on a position as well. He moved to fullback last weekend, looked a lot more comfortable, but he needs to make a choice. We need to decide, where is Cohen Bosch going to play the future of his rugby, because he can't just be moving between 10 and 15 consistently. He's now coming to the sort of age where he needs to be playing at a position consistently if he wants to try and make it back to the Springboks. A lot of people are saying he might never make it, but we'll never know unless he finds a team where he can slot in at. I mean, he's been the fly half for a long time, but I think bringing Lionel Cronje back, despite being quite a bit older, sort of shows you that maybe there are a couple of doubts about where Cohen Bosch will be sort of slotting in. But he's not going to be able to sort of force away in a full back with somebody like Apelele Fassi, who will then come back from the Springbok squad. The rest of the back line, Take Abrahams, Jalpen Clare, a lot of pace with those two. And then Murray Costa and Werner Kok will continue their centre pairing. Werner Kok playing some really, really nice rugby at outside centre. On the bench, Kwesi Mona and Lawrence Arjansa are the only front row replacements, which means there's almost a bit of a bomb squad in many ways of Thembelani Boli and Pilo Gamede and James Venter in terms of being able to bring on, it's 3 loose forwards, and Thembelani Boli can also cover the second row. So quite a lot of players that can come into sort of the loose trio and the middle row. And then Sanel Nahambak, just back from the box squad, got a yellow card the other day. He'll be on the bench. Jeremy Ward, Anthony Folmick will cover the rest of the side. It's not a bad Sharks side by any means. It's a very, very decent Sharks side, but you do feel that Bulls have just got too much. But I do think the Sharks side has the potential to put up a much better fight than what we saw the Western Province do a week ago. So, I mean, my gut would sort of say Bulls by about 10. I think that they've got too much quality across the park. I'm very interested to sort of see how those front rows do in the second half, when you've got Kwesi Mona, probably Dylan Richardson and Lawrence Arjansa versus the likes of Jan Hendrik Wensels, Sapiro Mantanzima, as well as Mahlele Dlamini. So quite a couple of interesting sort of small battles really within this clash, but it really should be a fantastic one. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock in Durban is kickoff time. Let me know what you think is going to happen down in the game in the comments below. And smash like on the video, subscribe to the channel. My name is Steven. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll chat to you soon.